Cool. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So I think maybe I'd love to start with, I want to know a little bit more about where you grew up, Johannesburg, right?
Yes, Joburg.
So what were your early experiences in music in Joburg?
Yeah, I mean, I came from like quite a musical family. My father was in the music industry. He was a producer. He had a publishing company and studios and everything like that. So when we were growing up, we were always around music. He was always playing music on like the hi-fi at home and stuff like that, and LPs and everything. So we grew up around it, which was cool. And I kind of like we used to go to the studios of his every now and then, and I used to look at the gear and everything, and he used to sometimes switch it on. I used to play around. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, but it was fun to like, just hit the keys and make sounds and stuff. And I think that's kind of like where the first kind of experience I had with music came from.
Hmm.
And yeah, I mean, it just kind of like it just grew from there. It was a really musical childhood, and they kind of pushed me into. I say pushed me in a bad way. It's not a bad way. They encouraged me to take on the piano.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so I think for about 8 years when I was younger, I played the piano. I did a little bit of music at school and stuff, and that gave me like the early knowledge.
And then what was your early exposure to dance music or electronic music?
I think probably I was around maybe like 15 or 16. I actually can remember going on family holidays and playing albums and like mix CDs that they used to put out, like compilations on my Discman, like lying on the bed and just like locking into the Discman and listening to like these. It was like a mixture of kind of old house and Robbie Rivera and stuff like that. And then there was some like trancey kind of stuff in there as well. And I used to replay some of those records like over and over again, some of those tracks, and I think that's kind of like where it first started for me.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's crazy to actually reminisce on that. I forgot about those moments.
Yeah, when you're like on family holiday, especially, and you're like, no one understands me.
Yeah, you're in that. Yeah,
Good about
just
these guys, they get it.
yeah. Just like switch the world off and just lock into some random trance music.
Yeah, it's actually probably a lot, for sure. When I was a teenager, I think a lot of my art, like taste, developed from like sulking in my room. To be honest,
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't even say I was sulking. I was just like,
I think,
I
yeah,
just like lock it in. Like I remember the Discman would take like two batteries, and you would listen to the album, and you would just loop the album over and over again, and then it would run flat. You would get like two plays out of the album, and then you had to change the batteries.
this is like very off piste. But I read recently that like Gen Z, like 40% or more even of Gen Z have never listened to a full album. Have you heard
Mm,
this?
I think I saw that stat as well. It's 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 not a great thing to read.
Yeah,
Um,
it's crazy, isn't it? I mean, it's just how people consume music, but it's just to hear you say that, it's like that full body of work was like, how we listened to music when we were younger, right?
it's very very different now. Yeah, I mean, the whole culture has kind of changed, and I mean, you've seen it slowly shift towards just like high output single releases,
Mm.
and that's just the way that stuff is consumed. It's social media as well. It's like you watch 3 seconds of a video, and you swipe past it. It's tricky to it's tricky to lock in for for people to lock in for the length of an album, and that's why you also see albums that used to be an hour long, like half an hour long now.
Mm. Yeah, it must be quite hard to resist that when you're producing.
Resist shortening everything.
Yeah, or just like catering to this sort of short form mindset.
I yeah, it's a catch 22 because you don't necessarily, if you've been around for a while, like I've been making music and releasing music for uh, 15 years probably now, and if I think back to how long my records or tracks were back when I started, if it was under like 5.5 minutes, you were like, this is crazy, this is too short.
Mm.
And now you find the sweet spot between like 4 minutes and 5.5. And I think you don't want to necessarily be forced to make the track shorter, but you really, to remain competitive, you actually have to do it. There's no way around it.
Crazy. Yeah, really interesting. So I'm really curious about your like when you got into sort of bass music, because I hear so much UK coming out of your catalog, and I'm wondering like what your inspiration is there.
That's an interesting question because I have people ask me all the time or try and put me in this box of what bass house or tech house or whatever, and it's weird because I don't really fit into like one of those boxes, right? Like I make this sort of tech house bass house combination of stuff. I have um, my earlier influences were very bass influenced. I've always enjoyed like the more grittier kind of like aggressive sounds and the stuff from drum and bass and face scrunchy kind of music. I've always kind of really enjoyed that stuff. So I think that's kind of where it came from. I used to, I mean, we were talking about it before we started the podcast, but when I lived in London back in 2009, I used to walk around listening to like Breakage Essential Mix and Noisier Essential Mix and all of that kind of stuff. But then, at the same time, the next day I'd be listening to like the Dusky Essential Mix, and it would be like this deep house kind of stuff. So I guess that's kind of like where it all came from, and that's those early influences have kind of shaped the bass association that I have now.
Hmm. And then how long have you been living in the UK? Since
We've
2000?
been living here for 5 years now. Yeah.
Okay, so you did a stint in 2009 and then.
Yes. Yeah. So 2009, 2010, my wife and I lived in London for a while. And yeah, I just had like a day job there, and I did some shows because I'd been playing quite a few shows in South Africa before, where I grew up, and yeah, connected with a few promoters and did a few shows around the UK, which was cool. It was like the first time I'd ever done shows that weren't in South Africa. So it was kind of daunting, but exciting, and cool to actually get the opportunity and stuff. But after 2010, we went back to South Africa and stayed there until basically as COVID ended, we moved back over here.
Oh, I see. Okay. And I'm
Yeah.
curious about like the bass house scene in South Africa. Is
Mm.
there, are you part of a bigger movement there?
Yeah, in South Africa, there was a very, I think, especially when I was coming up, there was a very specific sound, right? And it's not a big country, so when there is a popular sound, it kind of takes over the whole country, and everywhere you go, you hear that sound within that sort of subspace. And so I think a lot of the influence on South African music came from the UK. At the time, there was sort of like fidget house, which was a very big movement in the UK and the States as well, of course. But particularly like the UK variant of it was quite big in South Africa, and it influenced my music a lot. It influenced a lot of my fellow producers' music. And so that got like very popular. So there was definitely a feeling of like pushing that kind of sound in South Africa, which was very cool. And then obviously it also, Mozambique is just next door, and it kind of like reached over to Mozambique, and it still actually continues over there, which is pretty cool.
Oh, cool, amazing. I don't know anything about the scene in Mozambique. That sounds so interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
it's its own little space there. Yeah.
and then what was the moment or the motivation to start DJing and producing? When did that all happen?
So I mean, I get asked this question actually pretty often, and I never actually wanted, or not wanted, but saw myself being a DJ at all. I didn't have that sort of moment that a lot of other producers or yeah, producers say when they were in the crowd and they looked up at whatever DJ and they went, oh man, like I'm gonna be that guy or that girl. I didn't have that moment. Uh, I was just messing around, making tunes, having fun. Just one of my mates. I thought about this morning when I was thinking about the chat we were going to have, and one of my mates actually said to me, probably around 2000, he said, "Oh, because I was making music with little pre-made loops. It was a program called EJ, and it was very dance focused. It was only like 4/4 stuff." And he was like, "Okay, oh, now you're making this. Like, are you going to be a DJ?" And I was like, "Nah, man, I'm just having fun making tunes." And yeah, it just the music started connecting with people, more people. The momentum started, and once you make this music and the momentum starts, there's no way that you can't actually get into the performance side of things. It just came very naturally. So that was kind of like the journey into DJing for me.
Mhm. Was it something? So I do sometimes think like the pressure of producers to become DJs is two very different roles.
Mm.
Um, and how was that transition for you? Pun intended.
It it's it was fine. It worked. I mean, there was quite a lot of, so it took a little bit of time to like start getting good shows and stuff like that, of course, but the support behind my music was enough that the gigs were good and rewarding. So I didn't have to go through. I mean, obviously, I went through a stage where, I had the difficult shows and people not really caring that much for the music. But there was a moment I can clearly remember in 2000 and I think it must have been 2008 New Year's Eve into 2009. We went to go and play out of my city somewhere for a New Year's Eve party, and I like opened with one of my own songs, which no one had heard yet. It was just like this bootleg of Groove Armada Super Styling, which if you listen to now is it's horrendous. It's really bad. But uh, I opened with that track, and like everybody started cheering and shouting. And it was the biggest crowd that I'd ever played for and stuff. And I was like, okay, this is cool. This is happening. So that was
That's
it.
amazing.
Yeah,
That's great. What a way to start your DJ career. It makes so much sense to have this catalogue of music that people want to hear played out. You just get that instant support. And you
yeah,
and you need to perform it somewhere, and somehow.
yeah.
Um, and then what would you say was like your breakthrough moment as an artist?
Um, Probably, I think it would have been in South Africa. I had like a quite a big record there called Back to You. It was this crossover track that I did, which was like a dance track, but it did really well on radio. It actually did, like, it went to number one on national radio, and that was right after I just got like a national number two on radio. So with the remix of this other local act called Goldfish from South Africa. So it kind of felt like that things ticked up a little bit there. I started playing shows, and they all had that feeling of that one I just described from 2008. They had that feeling where everybody was excited, and you played them all of your new music and they just wanted to hear it and stuff. So I think like at that point, that's where everything kind of changed for me. And I was like, okay, this is serious now.
Hmm. And then what would you say were your ambitions as an artist when you were first starting out?
I think if I look back, I didn't really take it as seriously as I think like I would have now, which I mean is different because I'm in a totally different time of my career, but I was still just having fun back then. I just wanted to make music and play good shows and work with people, and I wanted to kind of chase that feeling that I got, when the track did well, or when I played a record out and of mine, and the crowd reacted in like a positive way. I just wanted to kind of chase that stuff. So I think looking back now, I didn't really have like a massive roadmap, that I had kind of formed in my head for me. I just wanted to have fun, and
Mm.
I'm glad that it was actually like that. I mean, I wasn't thinking about all of the business side of things and all of that kind of stuff. After that, maybe 2 years after that, I was getting messages from people in the States going like, you have to come to the States, you have to come to the States. I had this crazy memory, which is so stupid, of Splash House, which I had no idea what Splash House was. It's this massive thing in Palm Springs. They were like, come and play at the Air Museum. And I was like, I didn't even know what that was. And I was like, nah, I'm good, which is crazy. I never would have been able to. I didn't have a visa. I didn't have an agent or anything like that. I didn't even know you had to have an agent. It was just like, it just wasn't on the radar. So internationally, I only really started taking things more seriously once, yeah, probably around like 2017, maybe
Really?
16. Yeah. Yeah. It's,
So you
it's
had a good
crazy.
9 years of just being like, this is great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the things took off. It kind of really took off in 2015. I started getting invited to go to Brazil, and Australia actually was one of the first places. Brazil, again, was also, I've been there back there multiple times. And they were a very big supporter of my music around that period. So those were my first kind of experiences playing really big shows, like over 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 shows in Brazil. That was like my first kind of experience, and the States came after that, and that's when it really got more focused on the stakes got higher and the business aspect came into it a little bit more.
And that was off the back of your first album, right?
Yeah, so Brazil was from a few singles that came out around 2015, 16. But yes, I started touring the States just actually in the March of 2018, and then my album came out, which which is actually right up there. Um, Came out, I think it was probably August.
Okay.
So there was obviously all of the momentum from the album. It came out at a very, very good time for me, like strategically,
Mhm.
uh, just entering the States market and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, it kind of really took off after that.
And what year did you get your first like manager and agent?
20, yeah, end of 2017. The manager chat's a completely different one, but I got my first US agent in 2017. Um, I'm still with him. I'm still with him at the moment. Um, and yeah, we started working together in 2017. He did my first tours there, and he's still working with me. My manager, I didn't have a manager until I think 2022.
Wow.
Yeah, which was kind of crazy. I had a day job as well up until, I mean, actually up until I moved to the UK. I actually had a day job which was reasonably flexible. Um, and I was like touring and playing shows around South Africa on the weekends, and then going and working like 4 days in the week, and then touring and working 4 days a week, and then going and playing shows. It was actually crazy. Yeah.
Was it okay? Was it a bit unsustainable?
I managed to do okay, actually. Uh, I don't know how. My boss was super understanding because I, when I went to go work for them, I was like, "Listen, I knew him. Luckily, he came to me and he was like, 'Come and work for us.'" And I was like, "Okay, but you know what I do? I travel. I have to like go and play in different cities around South Africa on the weekends. Sometimes I have to go and do like a 2 weeks tour every now and then." And I was like, if I'm going to come work for you, you got to let me do that. And he was like, "That's cool. You can do that." So it all worked out. It was tough. If I think about if I think about like the responsibilities and stuff now, I actually don't know how I managed to do that. Like work during the day and make records at night, tour
Yeah.
over the weekend. It was a lot actually, but it was easy. It was at the time it was easy.
I guess you just get into a flow, don't you? And then when you sort of actually focus on one thing, you're like, how did I do that?
Yeah. Well, when I look back, I think about it often. When I look back, I'm like, how did I even do that? That's just the most craziest thing to do, but it worked.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Um, and I'd love to hear about your new album and the inspiration behind it. And I understand you gave yourself a tight deadline.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. The album. Okay. Um, yes. I'll start with how it came about. So I took a little bit of time. The States is the North America, the US and Canada is one of my biggest markets. I spend most of my time playing shows out there, and I have done since I started going there in 2018. But this year we took a little bit of a break from the market, and most of the year actually. And I remember my wife and I were sitting on the couch one day, and we were like, "Okay, so you've taken some of this time off. What are you going to do on your social media? What are you going to do to like keep things ticking over?" Which is obviously something you have to think about now. And she said, "Why don't you do an album and release it right when you go on tour?" And I was like, my immediate reaction was like, "This is ridiculous. There's no way that this is possible. I'm not going to do this." But she talked me into it. And I'm glad that she did. Um, it gave me. We're recording this on the day that I think I'm about to set it to final. We're about to deliver it to the distributor today.
Amazing.
So yeah, the deadline was 18 weeks, start to finish, and it's made up of all new music. I didn't grab stuff that I'd written over the years that never came out, or sketches that I had lying around. It was pretty much like from scratch. And yeah, I mean, it's just the challenge was to do that and make the process reasonably public, and take people through, the first kind of few ideas and how it grows and how the folders grow and the sketches that don't make it and stuff like that. So the whole process the intention was to kind of make it public, and that was going to keep the social media ticking over while I wasn't doing that many shows. not much that kind of show content to post at that time. And yeah, now we're here and 11 tracks delivering today. It's crazy.
How was it like received? Like, 'cause I guess you're just being really transparent about the process. Like, how was it received by your followers?
Yeah, really good. I've had a lot of messages from people saying that they've been, loving the content, and it's been very album focused over the past 4 months or so that I've been writing it. It's the feed has been almost all album content, which is cool. It's been great to show people. I guess it's kind of unusual because usually artists keep that kind of stuff secret.
Mm,
Um, the work the work behind kind of producing an album and stuff like that, and the tracks that don't make it, and even tracks that start in one direction and kind of like end up in another one. Uh, they don't show that, and they don't want to give away snippets of stuff too early, and that stuff lives online and people can kind of come back to it and stuff. They save that for release day. So it was quite an unusual idea to do it this way,
mhm,
but it's been received really well. I think it gets a lot of yeah, a lot of the hype and success behind records now is actually the kind of weeks and months leading up to the actual release. Feels like that's the way the music is consumed now. So I think stretching that out has actually kind of helped.
yeah. And what can people expect when they hear the album? What genres have you covered, and what sort of themes can they expect?
Yeah, so it's very fluid. So the name, I'm actually gonna, yeah, I'll drop the name. It's called Ask Me Tomorrow. By the time this comes out, hopefully that's public.
Is it
It's
cool?
called Ask Me Tomorrow.
Okay.
Say again.
Because you said ask me tomorrow by the time it comes out, and I was like, that's a long title.
Yeah, yeah. So it's called Ask Me Tomorrow, and the whole concept is kind of a joke on myself. Except the punchline is that the album actually exists. I'm very bad at procrastinating, or good at procrastinating, depends on which way you look at it. And the irony is that I gave myself such a tight deadline to start and finish this thing that there was no real time to wait for tomorrow or wait for stuff to come through. Right, I had to just get started. So that's kind of like the whole concept behind the album. And there's a there's a thread that runs throughout it. I won't go into that, but it's kind of conceptual in a way, which I think an album needs to be.
Mm,
And I'm really really excited for people to hear it. So because of the pressure and making it so quickly, I didn't have really time to uh, you know doubt the decisions that I was making.
mm,
And so because of that, the album is pretty varied. I mean, it's got like the types of records that people might expect to hear from me, but then it's also got tracks that are at 140, tracks that are 136, 133, down tempo stuff, intros. It's very very varied, but if you listen to the whole thing, by the time you get to the end, it all still sounds like me somehow.
mm,
And yeah, I'm really proud of how it's come out. And I hope people can appreciate it for what it is.
mhm. So is it in a way like a sort of anti-procrastination strategy?
In retrospect, maybe, especially after my initial reaction to my wife when she suggested it, and me going, "There's no way that I'm going to do this," and then half an hour later going, "Shit, I'm going to do this,"
Yeah.
and then going, "How am I going to do this?"
I've been learning a lot about ADHD recently, just because everyone in my life has it, and also the music industry is just full of people with ADHD. But I wonder if that's like a good idea for people who, because procrastination is such a big problem for so many creatives. So I think
Yeah,
that's
it's
such a good idea to just, it's actually even more enjoyable, isn't it? Because you're so focused.
yeah. I mean, if I'm honest, and I've said this on my socials as well, I've been in this flow state which I haven't been in for a while.
Mm,
When you're writing, it's kind of hard to explain, but when you're writing or you have the pressure to write these singles, feed the machine that the music industry is right now, it's weird. You feel all this pressure and you have to write specific records in a specific way because they have to do a specific job, and it gets fatiguing. But with the album and kind of just like getting into this flow of writing without second guessing and stuff like that, it just, the music comes so naturally. You realize what you're capable of, and what you really enjoy, and you learn a lot about like yourself as a producer, because you're not within this box of making a club record that does a specific job. You just creatively like ejecting all of the stuff, and that comes through on the album. I mean, there's like all of the influences that I have and the stuff that I enjoy. It's all Carl Watson version of that on the album, which is is awesome, and super proud of it.
Amazing. And like you said, that it was can be fatiguing to write. I guess you're writing for an algorithm or for a machine in a way, even though it is music you like. In what way was the music you were writing for your album different to that? Like, do you think will there be singles taken out of it as well, or is it sort of a completely different sort of side of your artistry?
No, so I did want it to tie into, obviously, the touring aspect of my career. So there are singles. There's one single which, in fact, by the time this comes out, both of the singles have come out. One was with Body Ocean. The other one is just me, and those are club records. Are You the Same with Body Ocean is a bit more of a crossover track, but Keep Control, which is the Carl Watson single that will be coming out tomorrow while we're recording this, that is much more of a club record, and so that feeds that side of my fan base, I guess.
Mm.
There are other records on the album which also are club records, and I've just come back from a tour in Brazil playing them all out, which was also super weird because I've made all of this music, and the first time I got to test some of it out was, like 3 days before we delivered it to distribution, which is nuts. Not a chance to really club test it and to just trust your gut about how it's going to work in a club venue, and luckily it all did. But there's that side of the album, and then there's the other side, which is more experimental, and the blinkers are taken off, and that's the stuff I was talking about before.
Amazing, cool. I haven't heard your album yet, and I'm excited to listen.
Yeah.
Um, and is it coming out on your label?
Yes, I should have mentioned that, right? When we were having this discussion on the couch, my wife and I, and you're going to do this album in 18 weeks, and we'll put it out on our own label, which is a label we run together called No Context.
Hmm.
And it's been going since, I think, 2023. So yeah, we've done it all ourselves. It's been a journey. I'm not going to lie. We're only, two people at No Context. It's my wife and I, and we do a lot of the lifting. She does all of the art, and a lot of the admin and the distribution of loading all the tracks up, and the metadata and all of that kind of stuff. We're doing all of that. We're figuring out all of the promotion and the marketing angles, and meeting with people to figure out how we can like amplify the record and stuff like that. So it's been a lot, and not to mention, obviously, finishing the music and creating like this whole artistic project. It's all of the other stuff. So it's been a journey, but she's been incredible. I mean, she's dealt with so much stuff, and learned how to do contracting and all of this kind of stuff. It's been insane. So once this is out on the 18th of September, when I start my US tour,
Hmm.
we're going to look back and go, I know we're going to look back and go, I can't believe we actually managed to do that.
It's amazing, isn't it? Like just setting yourself some parameters. I actually, from what I understand, like having parameters is actually really good for creativity, and having limitlessness and no deadline is actually terrible for it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think it depends on what kind of a person you are, but I have found that having the limitations is actually, you do your best work when you have those limitations,
Mm.
because I mean, let's use time as an example. It's like you don't have months and months to second guess or tweak stuff and test it out and tweak it and everything like that. It's just like, this is the idea. Is it strong? Yes, finish it. Is it not? Like, whatever, close the folder, start something else tomorrow. You actually don't dwell on stuff. And some of the coolest records of the album are the ones that came together in a day, an afternoon.
That like cutthroat, quick decision making, I think, is probably one of the most like, because you develop that a little bit later sometimes, and I think that's probably one of the most valuable skills you can have as an artist. Just like quick decision making, like not
Yeah.
umming and ahhing, like when you have a feeling something's wrong or off, just moving on. Instead of
Mm.
like sitting on it for ages. It's so interesting, and I guess when you give yourself that time limit, you just can't dilly dally.
Yeah, 100%. You're right. I mean, I think there's an arc. When you start, you just work really quickly. And maybe that's because you have so many ideas in your head and you're just like getting them out. And I mean, at least for me, that's how it felt in the beginning. And then you get to a point where maybe the stakes get a little bit higher, and the shows get a bit bigger. And then there's a bit more pressure on, how the records need to perform. And then I think there's a bit of a switch that switches in your brain, at least for me, and then you start thinking a bit more about stuff, and then maybe you lose a little bit of that
Mm,
uh, spontaneity or whatever it is that you had when you started, but almost push through that and realize that uh, you need to trust your gut. And that's
mhm,
kind of like what happened to me. It was kind of like a bit of an arc, actually, where I went through a period where I spent like way too much time on stuff, thinking too much about mixing and the technical stuff, and not enough time on just like a good idea that comes to you quickly. But with time, you get better at that. And now I think, especially after this album, that's probably going to become a big part of like my production flow going forward.
mhm. Yeah, amazing. How cool. Such a good way to discover, the way you work best.
Yeah, it's definitely been enlightening.
Mhm. Yeah, amazing. And you have a tour coming up. You said, how long is it? It's in the US, and it's how long?
Yeah, it's North America, so the States and Canada, which are my biggest markets for touring.
Mhm.
And it starts on the 18th of September in Calgary, and it ends, I want to say, on the 4th of December. I
Okay, long
think it
time.
ends in Ontario. I think that's the last date, but I think it's 16 or 18 shows, um, which is cool. I mean, like I said, I've taken some time off, but I'm usually backwards and forwards from the States at least like once a month. So it's gonna be really cool to go and do like a big block of shows. Looking really forward to it. Yeah, all of them are on sale now. So
Amazing. How come, like, out of interest, why, if your market's in the US, how come you don't live in the US and you live in the UK? Is that a silly question?
no, that's not a silly question. If I had a few bucks for every time someone asked me that, I'd be rich. It's uh, it's a fair question to be honest. It's just it's a practical place for us to live. The UK. My wife is from the UK, so for us to settle here is much easier than for us to settle in the States. And we like it here. We've got family here. Both of us have got family here and friends here, so we have a network. And being in London, it's pretty easy to get out to the States and play shows. You can get to most cities on a direct flight, so I don't really mind the travel that much. Sure, it can be a
Right.
bit of a slog, but yeah, yeah, we just like it out here. It works for us.
And I guess the jet lag is what maybe works in your favor if you're
Uh,
playing AM sets, or no?
does jet lag ever work in anyone's favor? I think the more you do it, the better you get at dealing with it. I've learned I've learned to figure out when I have to sleep and how long I have to sleep for, and if I wake up, like, do I need to be awake or do I need to go back to sleep, and stuff like that. And I mean, anybody who tours will tell you that it's the micro naps that save you, right? It's like you sleep when you can. If you've got a few hours in the hotel, get a sleep. If you have a whole night, just sleep the whole night. I take like a little. I've started taking like a melatonin tablet to get like a really good first night's sleep when I land in the States, and that kind of sets me up for the weekend. And then when I get back to the UK, I do the same and sorts me out in a day.
Right, so fair.
It can't be good for your body though. Like, there's no way around it. There's no way that the weird sleep schedule is good for you.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess it's all wrapped up in as well in like food and like I guess if you're able to exercise, I don't know, touring is so hard. I don't know how people do it. Honestly.
Yeah, it's tricky, but yeah, um you've got to eat healthy. You've got to eat as healthy as possible. It can be a little bit difficult in some countries, but
Hmm.
you've got you've got to eat as healthy as possible and just try and take care of your body.
Hmm. Cool. So I'd love to hear some hot takes from you. So,
Let's go.
what's your golden era of music?
I reckon that deep house era, hot nature, dusky, disclosure, around 2011, 2012, 2013, major influence in my music and really big in South Africa and like a big driver behind my influences.
Nice, great. What are you enjoying about the music industry at the moment?
I kind of feel like there's a bit more of this kind of trend towards finding new music now, which is nice, and DJs taking risks in sets and stuff like that, and people, not as many people going to listen to the stuff that they know, and being a bit more open to hearing new things, and for DJs to dig in their into their crates a little bit more. I think, yeah, for me that feels like a bit of a shift that started happening, which is exciting.
Mm, amazing, yeah, absolutely. That's so good. I think people obviously are in need of a change or wanting to hear it.
Yeah,
Um, what are you finding frustrating in the music industry at the moment?
AI. Uh, Specifically, although this is there's two sides to this coin. Um, AI fully generated AI songs and the volume of these tracks, uh, that's frustrating. I mean, the amount of stuff that's getting loaded up on streaming sites and tracks that are fully created by certain websites and stuff are really flooding the market and just bringing the baseline of quality really low.
Hmm.
But on the flip side, I think it was just yesterday or this morning, I read that Spotify and some of the DSPs are starting to tag AI tracks with a label and not suggesting them into the algorithms. Hopefully, they follow through on the stuff, but that's really good, on the flip side. So hopefully the industry continues in that way because yeah, I think AI is like a major disruptor,
Hmm.
and we need to push back on these fully generated songs.
Yeah, I mean, if you wouldn't mind just spelling it out for people, why exactly is this flood of music? How is it impacting you as an artist?
I mean, it's crazy because there's a website, I can't remember what it's called, but you type your name in and it shows all of the songs that a certain AI model was trained on, and you type my name in, there's like 127 songs on there. So just like from an artist point of view, we've been speaking this whole interview about where I've come from and how I got to where I got to now and all of that kind of stuff and all of this the things that I've learned and all of that. And it's just there's thousands and hundreds of thousands of other people like me. All of that work of theirs is just being fed into a machine, and then someone is just typing a prompt, and it's basically taking all of that IP from you and all of the other people and pumping out something in 20 seconds for them, and they're putting it up online, and they can earn money from it. So it's just morally, it's just so wrong.
Mm,
Not only that, it just there's already before AI so much music that was being uploaded to stores and Spotify and Apple Music and stuff like that. So there was already so much to go through, and now there's even more, and more than half of it is just slop and rubbish. So
mhm.
it's just it just saturates the it saturates the market with just nonsense.
Does it make it harder to find your music?
For me, look, for me, not really. I find a lot of my music through promos, DJ promos, and directly through people I know and artists I like. So I'm lucky in that sense. But I can definitely imagine it's super tough for, you know, the average DJ who's trying to grab a bunch of new music for their gigs on the weekend and stuff. Like, it's definitely going to be trickier. I
Mm.
think I think there's a lot of value now in building a fan base that's you can directly tap into, um, and send them music directly that way, because yeah, it's just so overwhelming for people to find stuff.
I'm like annoyingly optimistic. I think it's a like trauma reaction or something. But I found like as a writer, obviously so much of my work has gone since ChatGPT and since AI. But I've also noticed recently that the flip side of that is companies do actually really want a strong tone of voice, like a strong human tone of voice. So I'm starting to feel the effect of that, people actually seeking out writers who have developed their voices. And I almost feel like I'm at an advantage now because
Mm.
I have so much experience, and it's like, it's so obvious that whatever I've written is not AI. So I'm wondering if that's something you can imagine happening for producers as well. Just like, okay, we're so sick of this shit. Like,
Yeah,
will there just be a total rejection of that and people just seeking out artists like yourself?
I mean, that's awesome for you. I'm glad, and I can see why that happens, because when something's written by AI, you can tell, right? The more it's out, the more you can tell, and I think that's happening with music as well. I know that the tools will improve,
Mm.
and it will get tougher to tell the difference, between something AI generated and something that's actually generated by a human. But maybe, maybe. I mean, it's moved really, really quickly, so I hesitate to, like prophesize that it's going to be that's going to happen. I hope it does. Um, yeah, I'm not really sure how the future looks, to be honest, but I think like the steps of pushing back against it in the stores and stuff, marking it so that people know, is obviously like a step in the right direction for sure. And yeah, maybe the artists who have a very specific style and tone and kind of like, I guess, like subgenre that they've built for themselves will always be around. I mean, there'll always be a market for those people, and yeah, hopefully that does cut through.
Because I mean, it's just a technology that's completely loathed.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, there are ways that it can definitely help, from like a workflow perspective and stuff. But when it comes to, idea generation and creative generation and that intangible thing that people have and the way that art comes about, it's just it should not be used. It should not be used for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Um, that wasn't so quick fire, but that's okay.
Was that
Um,
meant to be quick fire?
Actually, no, I realized that's the hot take section. Quick fire is coming up.
Oh damn. Okay. I was gonna say that is
That's
not a
right.
that
I
is
went
not
off.
a quick fire.
No, it's so interesting. Honestly, it's so good to hear your perspective. Um, cool. We'll go quick fire.
Let's go.
Um, so, what are your favorite? Who are your favorite artists right now?
MPH, Chris
Great.
Lake, uh, Sammy Virgie, um, Disclosure still leaders. Boo, yeah,
Who's been smashing it lately?
yeah.
Very creative remixing. Have you
Mm, mm.
seen
And
Boo?
yeah, with the chair, that magic carpet track, and the virality of that chair sound scraping on the ground. Very good.
I think he remixed a sound of a dishwasher opening recently.
He did. I saw that. Yeah, good producer. Really good. Great with sound design.
What's the weirdest job you've ever had?
I'm going to be so boring here, but I've never had a weird job. I've barely had any jobs, to be honest. That's
Your 4-day part. What was your flexible job in South Africa while you were teaching?
Yeah. I was gonna say I haven't had many jobs because I've stayed in jobs. I was a video editor. I studied video editing, so
Ah,
my jobs were video editing, and
okay.
that was it until I went music full time.
Such a good skill to have as a DJ and artist.
Oh, it's the same thing. It works like the same way. I've always said that to people. It's like if you can make music, arrange music, you can cut videos.
Mhm. Um, what's your favorite club night, past or present?
Oh man, that's really difficult. I want to say Truth. So where I grew up in Johannesburg, my home club was called Truth, and that was where probably for like 8 or 10 years it formed my sound. Um, Used to go there and hear new music and get really excited. It was a place where people went just for the music. Um, yeah, really good memories there, and played some incredible shows there with amazing energy. So, Truth, shout out Truth.
Perfect. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Be a little bit different so that you can stand out. I think more apt now than ever. You know, when it's really easy to make music, you have to be doing something a little bit different to everybody else so that you can stand out. I think it's quite easy for it's quite easy to be a clone now, for your music to sound like someone else's. So there's something, not only your music, even your brand. You know, like you have to do something a little bit different so that you stick out from the rest, and forge your own path.
Hmm. Definitely. And what's your life motto? Is it the same?
Nah, it is what it is.
It is
It's a terrible one. It's not even a motto. I don't know. I just that's what comes to mind. It is what it is. If it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, and everything is gonna be okay in the end.
Mhm. And grey area are foodies, so we always ask, what is your favorite restaurant anywhere in the world? I know it's hard.
That is really hard. Depends how I'm feeling on the day. The the restaurant that pops into mind, we've got this Japanese place that's near us called Osaka, and yeah, they make some banging spicy chicken and really good sushi. So I would say that. I'm not allowed to say. Actually, there's also a really good pizza place in South Africa near where we used to live, where they make like a spicy jalapeno pizza, which is the best I've ever had.
Wow, cool. What's that
So,
called?
yeah, it's called Big Bad Wolf.
What's a great name for a pizza place?
Yeah, amazing. Those are the two that pop into my mind.
Amazing. Cool. Thank you so much. This has been awesome.
Thank you so much for having me. That was great. Thank you.
Thanks, Carl.